Morning, kids. Glad to be back with you this week. We're going to talk about a story from the Bible that is found in Luke chapter 15, verses 1 through 10. Have you ever been lost where you couldn't find your mommy and daddy like in a store? Well, when I was your age, I was at a store with my grandma, and we were walking and shopping, and was talking to my grandpa, and I was holding her hand. And she got to talk to my grandpa about something, and she didn't notice that I had let go of her hand and that she and my grandpa had kept on walking, but I had stopped because I saw some toys that I wanted to look at. So while she and my grandpa were going to another area of the store, I ran over to the toys and started looking at them. And after I looked at them for a while, I realized that I was by myself, and I got scared. And so I started running around the store trying to find my grandma and grandpa. Well, at the same time, my grandma and grandpa had realized that I wasn't with them, and they were running around the store trying to find me, and we were just missing each other. And my grandma was scared, and she was crying, and my grandpa was worried, and I was scared, and I was crying. And finally, we found each other. And when we did, you know what my grandma did? She ran up and she grabbed me and she gave me a big hug and she kissed me on both my cheeks, and she was crying and she was so happy that she found me. Well, Jesus tells a parable kind of like that. He tells a parable about how this shepherd had 100 sheep. 100. Like starting at 1 and going all the way up to 100. Well, he had 100 sheep, and he would take them out every day to the pasture where they would eat green grass and drink clear water. And then every night he would bring them back home and put them up so that they would be safe. One day, he went out to the pasture just like he always did. But when he got home, he went to count his sheep, and he only had 99. He counted them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 98, 99. Wait a minute. There's supposed to be 100 sheep here. Let me count them again to make sure I didn't miscount. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 97, 98, 99. And he realized that he was missing one of his sheep. Now, he had 100 sheep. It was okay. He still had 99 sheep of those 100. But he wasn't worried about the 99. They were safe in the pen. They were protected. He was worried about the sheep that was lost, all by himself out in the pasture or who knew where. And so he made sure his 99 sheep were safe. And then he took his staff and he went out searching for the sheep, for this little lost sheep. And he searched and he searched and he searched until he found that sheep. And when he found that sheep, he put that sheep on his shoulders and he carried it home. And he put it with the other 99 sheep. And now when he counted them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 97, 98, 99, 100. He had 100 sheep like he was supposed to have. And he was so excited that he called all of his friends. And he said, hey, guess what? I went out, I lost the sheep, and I went out and I found him. And now all my sheep are together. All 100 of them are back in the pen. And he was so excited that they celebrated. And then you know what Jesus said? He said, God is like that. And the angels in heaven are like that. Every time somebody who is lost finds Jesus or comes back to Jesus, every time somebody who doesn't know God finds God and comes back to God, the angels in heaven celebrate. How exciting is that? Knowing that if we make a mistake, if we just go back to Jesus after that mistake, they celebrate about that. So God looks after each and every one of us. He protects each and every one of us. But if we're lost, we're still important to Him. He'll come and find us. And when He finds us, there's a celebration that occurs. Does that make sense? All right. Well, we're going to sing a song. And I don't know, we'll try. I don't know if you guys survived the song last week, but let's try this one. Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to Him belong. They are weak, but He is strong. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. The Bible tells me so. Jesus loves me when I'm good, when I do the things I should. Jesus loves me when I'm bad, though it makes him very sad. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. The Bible tells me so. Well, hope you all had a good time with the lesson. I hope you learned something from it. We'll see you soon. We love you and we miss you. And that's it for this week. Bye-bye.
Good morning, everyone. This is Mary. Hi, kids. Today we're going to talk about another man in the Bible. Last week we talked about a little wee man. Remember, his name was Zacchaeus? Well, today we're going to talk about a man named Jonah. And our story is in the Old Testament of the Bible. And it comes from the book of Jonah, chapters 1 through 3, and verse 10. And the story in the Bible that we're going to talk about is about God telling Jonah to do something that Jonah didn't really want to do. And what it was God told Jonah to go to a city named Nineveh. And the reason he wanted Jonah to go there was because the people that lived in Nineveh were doing really, really bad things. And God was going to destroy the city if the people did not quit being bad. And so he wanted Jonah to go to Nineveh and tell these people, hey, you're being really bad, and if you don't straighten up and do the right thing, God's going to destroy your city. And Jonah didn't want to do that. And so he decided that he would try to run away and hide from God. And everyone knows, and I know that we can't hide from God, can we? No. We can, if we crawl under our bed, God can still see us. If we go in the closet, close the door, God can still see us. He can see us wherever we're at. But for some reason, Jonah thought that he could run and hide from God. So he ran and he got on a boat with some other sailors. And as soon as they got out to sea, a big storm came up. And the sailors were really starting to get scared because they were afraid the boat was going to sink. And Jonah told them, the storm is because I'm on your boat. So you need to throw me overboard and the storm will quit. So they did. They threw Jonah in the water. And there was Jonah, floating all around in the water by himself, and the storm did stop. And the sailors sailed on away, and they left Jonah in the water, and a big fish came up, and he swallowed Jonah in one big gulp. And Jonah ended up in the belly of this big fish. And can you imagine what it would be like inside of a fish's belly? I know one thing, it'd be dark because there wouldn't be any light in there. And it would probably be stinky because that's where all the food would be that the fish ate. And Jonah stayed in the belly of this fish for 3 days and 3 nights. And he prayed while he was in the belly of this fish to God and begged God to forgive him for trying to run away and hide and not do what God told him to do. And after the 3 days, God had the fish, this big fish, spit Jonah out on land. He just kind of, and out came Jonah, and he landed on the dry land. And Jonah decided he would go to Nineveh. So he did. He went to Nineveh, He told the king what God had told him, that their city better start being good and quit doing all these bad things, or God was going to destroy it. So the king had all the people start doing the right thing, and God was pleased with them, and he was pleased with Jonah. And so what we get from that story is that we should always do what God tells us to do, the right thing. Because if we do the wrong thing, sometimes bad things will happen. If Jonah had went straight to Nineveh, he wouldn't have had to spend 3 days in the belly of a big fish. But since he did not listen to God, he did. He had to spend 3 days in the belly of a fish. And the people in Nineveh changed their ways because Jonah went and told them they were doing bad. And then they started doing good things. So that is our story for today. I have a song I'm going to try to sing to you. So just bear with me. And I don't know how many of you know this, but it goes something like this. Who did swallow Jojo Jonah? Who did swallow Jojo Jonah? Who did swallow Jojo Jonah? Who did swallow Jonah? Who did swallow Jonah? Who did swallow Jonah? Up. A big fish, a big fish, a big fish, a big fish, a big fish swallowed Jojo Jonah. A big fish, a big fish, a big fish, a big fish. A big fish swallowed Jojo Jonah. A big fish, a big fish, a big fish, a big fish. A big fish swallowed Jojo Jonah. A big fish swallowed Jonah. A big fish swallowed Jonah. A big fish swallowed Jonah. Up. All right, kids, that's our story for today and our lesson. I will see you soon. I miss you, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Good morning, Grape Kids. I hope you're having a wonderful day today. We're going to keep talking about the fruit of the Spirit today. But before we do that, I have a few questions that I want to ask you just so that we can remember our facts about our Bible. So, like we do every week, we're going to continue with our review questions. How many parts are there in the Bible? Big parts? 2. That's right. And they're called the what? The Old Testament and the New Testament. And how many individual books are inside the Bible? 66. How many of those are in the Old Testament? 39. And how many are in the New Testament? 27. That's right. Y'all are so smart. And so there is one theme of the Bible, and it's 3 different sentences. And so the first part, which is what the Old Testament about, is Jesus is coming. That's right, because everything in the Old Testament points to Jesus' arrival. And it's promises that God has made and God's plan for his son to come to earth. And so that's what the Old Testament is about. Jesus is coming. And then the next part of our 3 sentences, sentence number 2, is Jesus is here, and that's in the Gospels, right? And which 4 books of the New Testament is the Gospels? Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. That's right. And what does the word Gospels mean? The good news. And it's the good news that Jesus is here. And then Acts through Revelation is all about the last part, which is Jesus is coming again. That's right. He's coming again. And then he's going to take us to heaven with him. And so that is so exciting that we're going to get to be with God and Jesus, and we're going to be in heaven, and it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful place. So that's what the Bible is all about. Jesus is coming. Jesus is here. Jesus is coming again. Excellent. All right. Before we start talking about fruit of the Spirit, I thought it would be fun for us to sing a song. And so we haven't sung this one in a very long time. I know my Wednesday night kids, we haven't sang this in a really, really, really long time. So we're going to talk about, I need you to lift your arms as high as you possibly can and as low as you possibly can, because this is going to be deep. And then you need you to stretch all the way out. This is going to be wide. And then we're going to have a fountain that's going to flow. Okay, are you ready? Please sing with me. I don't want to sing by myself. Okay, here we go. Deep and wide, there's a fountain flowing deep and wide. Deep and wide, there's a fountain flowing deep and wide. Awesome. Okay, now we're going to sing it, and we're not going to say the word deep. And don't hum, that's cheating, okay? So we're going to do like this, but we're not going to say the word deep. Are you ready? Here we go. And wide, there's a fountain flowing, and wide, there's a fountain flowing, and wide. Let's sing it this time with no deeps and no wides. Are you ready? And there's a fountain flowing, and there's a fountain flowing, and good job. Can we do it without any deeps, wides, or fountain? Can we do that? Can we leave all that out? Okay, here we go. Ready? And there's a flowing, and there's a flowing, and good job. I'm so excited. Y'all did great. Okay, so what is that fountain that's flowing? It's God's love for us. Remember in the Peace Like a River song, we talk about having joy like a fountain that flows out. And so deep and wide, and we talk about this fountain, and it's God's love for us. So let's talk about the fruit of the Spirit this week. We have the next two. Remember that we've been in the book of Galatians, and we've been in chapter 5 in verses 22 and 23. And we've talked about love, joy, peace, patience, and the next two go together, kindness and goodness. Now, I tried really hard to think about how could I separate those two and have this week about kindness and next week about goodness, but I couldn't separate them because kindness and goodness are together. If you were to ask somebody on the street, and if you were to say, can you please describe to me what it means to be kind? Somebody is pretty early on is going to say, well, that's someone who is good. And if you ask somebody to describe what does it mean to be good, they're going to say, well, that's someone who is kind. And so those two words go together. There's a fancy pants word that's nuances, which means very small differences between the two. A lot of people have said that kindness is your attitude that's in your heart, and your goodness is your actions that come out of that attitude. Remember, we talked about the fruit of the Spirit are the actions and attitudes that come from us. So there are some people who are kind, they are compassionate towards other people, and they are sensitive towards them, and they are nice people. But when they do something to help somebody else, then they are also being good. Does that make sense? So kindness is something that you have inside of you and your attitude towards other people. And goodness is when you are doing good things for others, things that are not evil, things that are beneficial towards other people that will really help them. And in this time when we have lots of craziness going on and we're not at school, we can still be kind and we can still be good. And so there are things that we can do even though we cannot be at school. And so I want you guys to think about, and one of the things that maybe you and your parents could talk about today at lunch is how can you show kindness and goodness towards other people? What are some things that you can do that are good, like active things that you can do that would be beneficial? One idea that I have just to get you started is maybe if you and your family are going for a walk, maybe you can bring a grocery bag with you, and as you see trash along the side of the street, maybe you could pick it up and put it in the bag, and then when you go home you could throw it away. And that's doing something that's good, right? Because you have a kind attitude, and then you're following it through with a good action, and that's something that would be easy to do. It doesn't involve getting close to somebody and violating a 6-foot distance, okay? It's something that you can do to show your fruits of the Spirit, that you can be kind and you can be good, okay? Does that sound like a good challenge? So think about it with your family today at lunch. What is something that you maybe as a family can do that is good? And what is something that you as an individual might be able to do that would be good? Okay? Does that work? I think it works. Okay. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to sing one more song. And it is not going to be the Fruit of the Spirit song, because I don't want to sing that every single week and run into it like forever. But we're going to sing Jesus Loves Me. Now when we sing Jesus Loves Me, we're going to do the stomp, stomp, clap. Can you do stomp, stomp, clap? Stomp, stomp, clap. Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to him belong. They are weak, but he is strong. Singing na 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 na. Hey, na 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 na. Hey, na 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 na. Hey, na 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 na. Hey. Jesus loves me when I'm good, when I do the things I should. Jesus loves me when I'm bad, though it makes him very sad. Na 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 na. Hey, na 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 na. Hey, na 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 na. Hey, na 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 na. Hey, I love you, great kids. I hope to see you soon. Bye.